Welcome back in, everybody, to another episode of Tide Talk Live. We have been on a short hiatus. Well, I say short, it seems like forever since we've
Yeah.
done an episode, but I have been sick and under the weather, coughing, no voice, you name it. I have had it over the last couple of weeks, but I'm slowly getting back to 100%, and I'm excited to be back doing another episode. Joe couldn't be with us tonight, but me and Jake are going to be, talking some Bama hoops. As you can see, they continue to dominate on the hardwood. Looking like the best team in the country, despite what happened against Tennessee, at
Right.
the early part of the week. But Jake, it's good to be back. Good to see your face again and talk some Alabama athletics.
Yeah, man. Good to be back. Glad you're feeling well. And yes, I know I need to go get a trim bad, but it just I had not had time to get one. So I'll probably get trimmed up this week. So look at me now. I'm all raggedy and look like a homeless person, but maybe, sometime this week I'll get a good trimming.
That's all right. Well, we've gotten over the sickness here, and I don't know what I had, like I said, but I was struggling for a couple days to even talk, and you can't really do a podcast or a YouTube show if you can't talk. So
Right.
we've been on a hiatus, but now we're back. We're hoping to get back on our schedule that we had going. Really solid to start the year on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, premiere an episode each morning around 6 o'clock Central Time. So we're hoping to get back in the groove of things this week. Excited to be back. There's a lot to talk about right now. Baseball season was the opening weekend. They get a big sweep of Richmond. Really just dominated that series. Jake
Yeah.
blew out the Spiders in each of the contests. Softball team gets a big win here on the Sunday afternoon against Florida State, 2-1. So, they're kind of getting back on track. They kind of had a little bit of slow start to the season, but they're getting back on track now. They got some young bats in the lineup, and I think they're going to be really good by the time the SEC schedule rolls around. But we're here to talk about the men's basketball team, Jake, and just the Nate Oats just continues to deliver a fantastic product on the basketball court. Jake, they're 22-4 overall, 13-1 in the SEC, and Jake, they have won 3 SEC games by 40 points or more this season, which is like the first team to do that since like some of the teams, the Kentucky teams from the 50s. So just completely dominating the league. I know they dropped a road game at Tennessee. That was really just kind of an off game for Alabama. Turned it over, 19 times, and
Yeah.
Tennessee got 26 points off those turnovers. And you're not going to beat anybody having 19 turnovers. So it was an off game for Alabama. Basketball's a long season. You got to expect that's going to happen from time to time. And but they get back home against Georgia, Saturday, and just it wasn't even a contest. Jake, they got up 9-2, and they never looked back. And for some reason, Georgia decided it was a good idea to come out and play zone against Brandon Miller and Mark Sears and those guys. And
Thank you for that.
yeah, they made them pay for that. So the basketball team, Jake, just continues to dominate, and they're a lot of fun to watch. And they're number one this week. Anxious to see how that kind of changes. We're recording this on Sunday afternoon. Or Sunday night, really. Anxious to see if the AP or coaches poll changed on Monday. As most of you are going to be watching this, and the poll is probably already coming out, or will be coming out, or has come out. So anxious to see what happens there. But I don't know how you move them. Purdue also lost earlier this week. So really, to me, it's between Alabama and Houston, and Alabama owns the head-to-head. So I still think it don't matter, but I still think Alabama is the best team in the country.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. Like you said, they did drop the road game against Tennessee, and Alabama didn't look like themselves, like you mentioned. Other than that, there's a couple other games, like the Oklahoma game, about a month ago or so. But when Alabama gets it right, they are, like you said, the best team in the country. There's no doubt about it. Uh, but if you're going to beat this Alabama team, you've got to be physical and you've got to, get second chances. You got to make Alabama turn the ball over. But when Alabama is in their groove and not turn the ball over, you're not going to beat them. They have too much scoring. Brandon Miller, to me, and I'm not trying to be biased, but he's the best, freshman in the country, I believe. And I don't think it's, any question about that. But this team, when they are, playing like they supposed to, they are tough to beat.
Yeah, I think Jake. When I look at this team, and I think when you look at college basketball as a whole, look, Houston's a really good team, Purdue's a really good team, Kansas is a really good team. I think that's really Alabama and those three other teams are to me are cut above everybody else. But
Hmm.
I think if all those teams play their best, Alabama's going to beat every one of them.
Right.
Jake, there's just too much. You mentioned it, Jake. The amount of scoring that this team has. Brandon Miller is the best freshman in the country, probably maybe the best player in the country.
Okay.
Mark Sears is a lights out 3-point shooter. Noah Clowney is a problem because his ability to make the outside shot, to rebound the basketball, to affect teams when he's on the. He don't really get a lot of blocks or a lot of steals, but he affects the play defensively because of his length and his athleticism. And then they bring guys off the bench like Namari Burnett and Rylan Griffin who can also put points on the board. And Jake Hughes been in the league a long time. Jake, I know he's prone to some turnovers. He had just one, I believe, against Georgia on Saturday, Jake. So when he takes care of the basketball, that second unit of Jake Hugh, Rylan, Namari, Nick Pringle, and guys like that, Jake, they're tough. I mean, it's
Hmm.
Dom Welch. He's starting to make some buckets now. There's just too deep of a team with too many capable scorers. When they're all on, you can just forget about it.
Absolutely. I was going to mention that second unit can start at anywhere across the country right now. So Alabama starters are starting, and then their second unit can be starters. I mean, it's amazing. And you talked about Nick Pringle, man. He had his coming out party Saturday. I mean, 19 points, 12 rebounds, and just the overall physicality that he showed, that toughness that we've been missing inside. I love Charles Debiaco, but he's a tall guy. He's just not big and not physical enough, some of these bigger teams that we play against. So maybe Pringle can be that guy if we run up against, a big forward or something moving forward.
Yeah, the problem is though is that Pringle doesn't have quite the length that
Right.
Bediako has,
Mhm.
but he makes up for what he's lacking in length with his great athleticism. He lives above the rim, Jake, on the offensive end of the floor, and him and Jake Hughes seem to have good chemistry on those lob passes. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good mix up between what Bediako brings
Mhm.
compared to what Pringle can bring because you're not really kind of running anything offensively for Bediako. You can run some screen and dives for Pringle because he can get so high above the rim and finish there. So I think you get a little bit of an offensive game from Pringle compared to Bediako. But Bediako is a great rim protector. He's going to do a good job of affecting shots of the other team. So I think it's a good mix to have both Bediako and Pringle. And once Bediako gets back to 100%, he's going to be that
Yeah.
much better. And he really played limitedly yesterday, and I think he finished with 6 points and 6 rebounds and a block or two. So, and he was really important. People look past this. He was really important the early stages of that game. We miss a shot early, but he gets the offensive rebound and then
Hmm.
kicks it right back out to Mark Sears for a 3-point shot, and that really just blew the game open. And he's in. Everybody's important to this team.
Right.
It's not just one guy. I know Brandon Miller's a star, Jake, but Jake, they can win games if he doesn't score 10 or 12 points. I mean, they're still going to
Mhm.
win games because of all the other guys that are capable of putting points on the board. And there's a lot of efficient scores on this team. Mark Sears is an efficient scorer.
Mhm.
Brandon Miller's an efficient scorer. Noah Clowney is an efficient scorer. Rylan Griffin's an efficient scorer. So is Namari
Mhm.
Burnett. So the
Yeah.
list just goes on and on. And what a luxury it is for Nate Oats to have this amount of weapons, on the offensive end of the floor. And then you look at defensively, Jake, and look, they don't create a lot of steals. They don't create a lot of turnovers. They don't get a ton of block shots, but Jake, they just affect every shot. They
Mhm.
don't they contest everything that the other team puts up, and they don't make anything easy because of their length and athleticism on that end of the floor. And they're just a special group, Jake. And it's exciting to know that you're rooting for a team that has a chance to go all the way. And of course, basketball is such a strange sport, and anything can happen. But if Alabama's clicking, you can pretty much forget it.
Absolutely, and we said that again in the show. When they've got their minds right and where they're playing like a well-oiled unit together, they're tough to beat. And unless you out rebound, unless you get more physical than them, and unless you make them make turnovers, that's the only way you're going to beat Alabama. And and that they're missing their shots, which is rare. So
I forgot to unmute myself, but hey, give me a break. It's been a couple weeks, but
that's right. Yeah.
but Jake, I want to talk a little bit more about what's coming up for Alabama.
Mhm.
But as always, guys, we want to hear from you. Jump in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on this Alabama men's basketball team and the job that Nate Oats has done here in Tuscaloosa. Of course, he did get a contract extension, so we're excited about that. Just got to get that arena built as soon as possible.
Sure.
But also make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Follow the links in the description below to sign up for BetUS, make that deposit. Go to Latour Watches, find you a watch, get free shipping when you follow that link there. So appreciate those partnerships that we have with those guys. But Jake, upcoming, they go to South Carolina. They should beat those guys. Then they're back home for, is it Auburn?
I think it's
Maybe.
Auburn, Arkansas, some
No, Arkansas. It's
Arkansas.
it's it's
Yeah,
South Carolina,
yeah,
Arkansas on
Arkansas.
Saturday, and then home for Auburn as well, and then you finish with Texas A&M in College Station, which could turn into a de facto regular season SEC title game. So just going to be interesting to see how Texas A&M plays the rest of the year,
Yeah,
and also what Alabama can do the remainder of the season. Jake, it looks like to me they should head into that Texas A&M game, with just that one blemish on the SEC record, and who knows what happens in that game. But what a job, Nate Oats. He could win 2 out of 3 SEC regular season titles here at Alabama, and we all thought that he would do a pretty good job, but I think he's really exceeding expectations in Tuscaloosa.
yeah, and we said we've been wanting him to get a contract extension for a while, and Greg Byrne, the best athletic director in the country, he finally delivered, which I knew he would. He was not going to let Nate Oats leave Tuscaloosa from the way he's been dominating in the basketball rim around here lately. So, it Alabama runs by football, but the basketball team and Nate Oats is giving us something else to enjoy while football season is in a lull right now. So I'm glad that Nate Oats is here. I hope he stays for a long time, and I hope we see a few championships in basketball because we deserve it for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I was telling my wife yesterday, watching the Georgia game, and just realizing that Jake, this team has a chance to win it all. I mean, they're
Yeah,
they're 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 as good or better than anybody else in the country. And like we've said multiple times today, if they're on their game, you can just forget about it because there's too many scores on this team.
right.
And the fact that we have one of the best teams in the country, and what is this, Nate Oates' 5th season in Tuscaloosa, is just a remarkable job that he's done. Recruiting, developing, and really kind of changing the culture and the
Right.
mindset of this program. And that's really where it all starts. And any great coach, that's what he has to do is change the culture, and he has certainly done that here in Tuscaloosa. Jake, real quick before we go, we briefly mentioned that baseball really took care of Richmond over the weekend in the 3-game series and got the sweep. They're ranked 20th in the country, Jake. But if you look at the SEC, or if you look at the national baseball rankings, it is, I mean, like 7 of the top 10 is SEC schools. So I don't want Alabama fans to have a false sense of hope this early in the year, and not that it would even be a false sense of hope. I think Alabama's going to have a really good baseball team, Jake. But just because you have a really good baseball team in the SEC doesn't mean you're going to have a great record in the SEC, Jake. I think if a team finishes with a 500 record in SEC this year, they better be getting a trip to regionals, because that's a dang good baseball team, because the SEC is no joke.
It's no joke, man. I mean, LSU, their their pitching staff,
They're ridiculously good.
yeah, they're all number one. They were all number one starters on their respective teams last year.
They got a Bryce Harper in their lineup too.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think he's their center fielder. I'm not sure. I can't
Yeah,
think of his name, but he's ridiculously good.
he is. But I mean, what my hope for is in this baseball team is, I think, get to regionals like you said, but get to that second weekend.
Yep, yep,
And that will be your stepping stone for next year. So keep
absolutely.
building. I mean, I mean, a few short years ago, I think this is Bo's sixth season, but I mean, we was like 19-34.
Terrible, terrible.
He's built it up, but
Basically, we were bottom of the SEC, is what we were.
exactly, yeah. Now he's reached every stepping stone that he has set. This next one, and needs to get there, and that's the second weekend of regionals, and then I'd be the next one to get to the college
Right.
football, or not college football, but college World Series. So
Yeah, if Brad
just keep
Bohannon can
working.
take the football team to the college
Hey.
football playoff, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's all go for it. So
Hey, and real quick, did you see the video of the football team starting the fourth quarter program?
yes,
I look, and maybe this is wishful thinking. I don't know, but Jake, that energy was different.
it was.
It was different. That the feel when I watched that video is different than what I felt over the past couple seasons. It reminded me so much of. I know you remember when Mac Jones was all bloodied up during the fourth
Oh,
quarter
yeah.
program. That's what I got. That feel that this
Yeah.
team is hungry, Jake, and
Yes.
I hope that translates to the field. I hope it starts in spring practice, which is really just a couple weeks away. So we got to get moving on our position previews,
Right.
because the season's going to be here before we know, or the season, the spring's going to be here before we know it. I think that's about 2.5, 3 weeks away. So
Yeah.
excited about that.
I just want to say real quick, a little lesser known hire that just happened, getting kids Winston Hunt on the staff on an off-field role, but getting him on staff, it's going to help Tommy Reese and his development. So I think that's a big pickup. And also, Clinton Dick's been in charge of the player personnel, bringing in that old school spirit, like you said. That might be where the energy is coming from, because he knows the program, he knows how it used to be. You got to instill that in these kids nowadays, and we've talked about that before. So, I think Josh Chapman's also as part of that as well. So, Saban's bringing in some older guys with that mentality. It looks like it's showing up in the fourth quarter program right now.
Shoot, Jake, if Clinton Dix and Josh Chapman are older guys, what does that make us?
Oh my God, I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when both those guys were coming out of high school, and I was so excited for them to come to Alabama. And now
You ain't kidding.
they're part of the coaching staff. So,
I feel old now.
yeah, I'm excited about. Well, it really feels like a new energy
It does.
has kind of taken over Tuscaloosa and the football team. So excited about that, and cannot wait for spring practice to get here. But that's going to wrap this episode. Really appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully, like we said, we're going to get back in our rhythm after being sick for a couple weeks, and start rolling these videos out every Monday morning, Wednesday, and Friday, and maybe sprinkle in a live show or two along the way as well. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe today. But until next time, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.